What's up, everybody? Thanks for stopping by Capsule to Cone. I'm Matt McQueen, and today I've got another plugin review for you. We're going to look at the brand new Waves RS124 compressor. This is a software emulation of an Abbey Road compressor. I guess I had never actually heard of this. I haven't, studied too heavily, I guess, into Abbey Road gear or whatever, but this is a cool compressor. I got up this morning, made my coffee, came downstairs to the mix room, and was watching some YouTube videos, and this was an ad that popped up first thing this morning. And so I started checking it out, and I downloaded the demo. Thought, let's just go ahead and make another plugin review. You guys responded so well to the CLA Epic demo that I did last week that I thought, let's just go ahead and do another one. So thank you for that. Thank you for all the likes and comments and all the views that video got. That means a lot to us. So before we dive in, if you would, if you like these videos, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification, and leave us a comment. That really helps with the YouTube algorithm and is a great way to support what we're doing here on Capsule to Cone. So we are going to look again at this same song that we looked at last week. This is Truth by the band 8 Days Sober. I produced and mixed this, and we're going to look at all the controls of the compressor, and then we are going to listen to it on a couple of sources. So first things first, let's listen to the song, and if you dig the song, go and support the band. There will be links to their Spotify and their Facebook page and stuff like that in the description below. For those of you that are fans of the channel, this is the last thing that I'll mention before we listen to some music. The drums that you're hearing, if you're a Matt Goldman fan at all, this is Matt Goldman drumming on this song. We basically cut all the drums, bass, guitars, vocals, everything to the demo drums, and then Goldman came in one weekend and he and I tracked this together, and it was super fun. So this is the solo section that we are gonna listen to. I love how that banjo comes in at the end. So let's listen to some drums. And I'm going to turn a couple of things off here before we do. I want to just listen to the drums themselves. And oh, actually, I already have it turned off. So I had Echo Boy on the room mics. I will show you what that sounds like really quick just because it sort of did a cool thing. All right, enough wasting time. Let's get on to the actual demo. So first of all, let's just learn about some of the controls, and I'm going to refer to the manual on some of this because they're going to tell you a little better than I can, but just basic overview of the controls. You've got an input control and an output attenuator. So this is a fixed threshold compressor. So the more input you give it, the quicker it hits that threshold and the more it starts compressing. And if you want more compression, you just crank this input control up, and then you've got an output attenuator where you can either add 24 dB of makeup gain or you can turn it down 24 dB if you need to attenuate some. So this is one of the things that I'm going to check out from the manual. This auto hold function here is pretty interesting, and I just feel like that I couldn't explain it nearly as well as the manual does. So let's go back up here to the controls, and we've got this auto hold. The auto hold feature reduces compression artifacts when loud attacks are encountered during silence or when low-level noise is boosted due to long release times. The RS124 has fairly long attack and release times with lots of makeup gain. So the beginning of a transient may cause an audible thump when applying significant gain reduction. So because the attack time is so slow, the transient is going to get through and it could get really, really thumpy. So the auto hold is engaged, or when the auto hold is engaged, the compressor will analyze the envelope of the transient and smooth the attack. And if the signal drops below a certain level, the release will hold to remove unwanted noise swells. So it's going to keep you, I guess, from having that so much of that like pumping and breathing effect and getting it from making the really exaggerating the transient just because of the slow attack and release times that this compressor has. So it's a really smooth sounding compressor. Originally, when I mixed this, I used the Townhouse bus compressor on the main drums bus, and then on my crush bus, get away. All right, on my crush bus, I used the API 2500, which is a great one for that. So let's go ahead and let's mute the crush bus, and we'll solo the drums up here. And I'm gonna let you hear just what the Townhouse compressor. So sort of gluing everything together and bringing up some of the sound from the room mics, which is cool. It's a cool effect. So let's mute it and let's go through and just play with some of the controls for right now. Okay, so we've got that going on. Just wanted to make sure that I had that crush bus muted, so this was the only thing that we're listening to here. Here's what the auto hold feature does here. So it's going to smooth out that transient. It's going to analyze the envelope of the transient that's coming through. So let's listen to it with that on. So I think going real hard with this thing and then taking that mix knob back, it sounds really, really good on drums. You've got a couple of other controls here that you should know. You've got this expand and collapse feature, which is really cool, which gives you the sidechain high pass filter, which I have set to 72. And the reason that I did that was because I had the sidechain filter on my Townhouse compressor also set to 72 hertz. And I was trying to see if I could get a similar character, similar vibe out of this before I did the demo. So that's why my sidechain is set to 72. If you want, you can also unlink the left and right controls. So now you have independent control over the high pass filter and the mix controls. Which, on drums is sort of insane sounding. The snare in this mix is maybe just a little bit left heavy, but it doesn't bother me in the whole mix of the song because of all the ambience from the rooms. It also feels like that hi-hat pulls my ear to the left a little bit, but in the mix, it works. So we've got the auto hold on. I'm going to turn that off. The other thing that we have is that we've got this unit type. So the studio knob, according to the manual, is emulating the units that were in the studio. So, and then if you switch over to this, it basically switches to an emulation of units that had some different tube types in there and were slower with their recovery time. And so they had those in the cutting room at Abbey Road. And so that's why the unit type is called the cutter. So that's a cool thing, can give you a little different flavor there. A little smoother sounding, right? So then the last thing that we've got here is we've got this super fuse, and this is cool. This is not a feature on the original units, but you can click this super fuse, and then now you have basically taken the recovery time off, and this is just Waves included this to give you more of a sonic palette out of this compressor, give you more things that you wouldn't have originally had on the original units. And what it does is it matches the attack time to the release time. And so that's what this sounds like. And so you can go really crazy with it. I think that sounds really, really cool. And then you can back off the mix knob and sort of blend that in and probably make it work. So super useful compressor for drums and gives you a lot of options to really shape the sound that you're kind of going for. I went ahead and made a preset here. We've got EDS drums for 8 Days Sober. And so this is the preset that I made, and I want to compare it to what I had going on with the Townhouse compressor now. So let's go ahead and listen to that. So I feel like that I hear maybe a little bit more of the attack of the transient with the Abbey Road. I'm hearing the Townhouse maybe hit a little bit harder because I feel like that I'm hearing more of the rooms too coming from the Townhouse compressor. Yeah, so we maybe could lengthen the recovery time, see if we can get that matched a little better. I think the Townhouse may be just a tick louder too, so I'm gonna turn that up. Okay, so not a perfect match, but definitely sounds like a cool thing. I mean, it doesn't even really sound the same to me at all, but I think that it's a cool compression character that could also work for these drums. So let's just check out what that's doing. Actually, let's not check it out in the mix yet. I'm going to hold off on that. Oops, messed my preset up. We'll go back to the preset that I had. All right, so the crush bus, before I show you that, just want to show you how I have this routed. So all of my buses for my kick, snare, and my toms are coming on these sends here, and then I have the levels set individually how much I want of each of the shells to go to this crush bus. And then I don't send things like the hi-hat, I don't send the room mics. I end up just sending just a little bit of the cymbals. What this compressor is going to do is going to bring the cymbals up. And so if I send a ton of cymbals into it, it's going to get crazy and it's going to get wacky. So we've got this right here. Got a lot of output gain added to it, but I'm probably going to go ahead and turn this up so that we can hear it because it's set a little lower right now and it's also compressing pretty hard, so it's not going to be quite as loud for you. And that's just bringing up the overheads, what's in the room. The room sound that you're hearing is just bringing up a little bit of what's in the overheads. It's also bringing up, there's a snare sample on there that's got a room mic in it, so you're hearing some of that, especially when the snare hits. The API is very punchy sounding. It's very punchy sounding. This definitely sounds a lot smoother to me, not quite as attacky, but Again, I think that it could work. So, just as for part of the experiment, I'm going to turn this back down to where I had it, and we'll listen to just both of these compressors. There we go. Get my faders back to where they were. And we will listen to the drums mix with what I had previously and what I have now. So, here we go. So I think what I originally had is a lot more aggressive, but I don't hate what I've got now. It sounds pretty cool. Let's listen to it in the mix of the song. Okay, I don't think it's quite as loud still. So I'm going to turn this up just a smidge on both of these guys. Yeah, we're doing this on the fly to a degree. All right, now let's compare it. Delay on the banjo. Awesome. That's so that's the drums. Sounds really cool. Don't know if it quite works for this song, but I do think that they sound really, really cool. And for certain other songs, especially things that maybe aren't quite as rock and roll as this one tends to be, I think that this could really work and you could get a really cool drum sound out of it. I'm sure you could probably make it sound a little bit more aggressive. We're just kind of going by the seat of our pants here and really just wanted to show the controls, show some sounds. All right, so now what I want to take a look at is the solo section of the song. And I've got two duplicated channels here. And what I should do is name them. We call this MV2 and we'll call this RS124. All right, that way you can keep track of it. When I mixed the song, I used MV2. I love MV2 for solos. I also had Echo Boy on. I'm going to turn that off for this part of it so we can just kind of zero in on the two compressors and hear what they're doing. Let's go ahead and solo up this solo, and we'll give it a listen from the top here and see what we think. Here's the MV2 version first. Sounds cool. Here's the RS124 version. So really trying to squash this hard. That's what I did in MV2. Really trying to really smash it down and keep it in place so that at no point does the solo really poke out. But then also trying to bring up the low level side of the MV2 really helps to keep the sustained notes also up front. As the guitar player is holding the notes out, you don't have these ups and downs. And it's basically, it's not as dynamic as what he originally played. So, all right, let's go and listen to it at the end here, because I thought this was interesting too, and we'll also review the settings that I chose on the RS124. So I've got the auto hold on, trying to smooth out and make that transient so that it doesn't punch through. We don't want that to happen on this guitar solo. We want it to hear it all a lot more nice and even. And then we've also got the super fuse engaged, and it's on cutter mode. So trying to do a similar thing to what I did with MV2. That's what I'm trying to do here. So I want to listen to this ending because even though I have the automation turned off, what I think is interesting is it sounds like to me that the release is just a little bit long, a little bit longer than what MV2 was doing, and you can hear the sustain of the guitar just a little bit more than what you could with MV2. So let's listen to MV2 first. Yeah, it just seems like it drifts off more gradually to me. I hear more of that the Deja vibe pedal that we had when we recorded this solo. That's a full tone pedal. I'm hearing more of that's like pulsing kind of half tremolo, half chorus thing that pedal does, and I really like that. And so in the mix, we get this right here. I'll turn the automation back on. And now the delay. All right, so there you go. We listened to it on two sources. We listened to it on drums. We listened to it on the electric guitar. And so we've got to come to the question part of this review. Should you buy this plugin? Well, it's on sale for $39 right now. And I think if you've already got a bunch of compressors, is this something that you need? I would say probably not. It's super cool, but just, purely looking at it as a necessity, I think that there are other tools that you could do this with. I don't think it's too entirely different from MV2. I think that the way that I use that on guitar solos, I could totally keep using MV2, and if I didn't have this plugin, I wouldn't miss it. However, it's $39, and it's definitely a different flavor and gives you more control than some of the older plugins like MV2 do, because you've got that sidechain high-pass filter, you've got the mix knob. On drums, I think this could be a really, really cool plugin, and on some of the songs that I'm working on right now, I want to try to swap this out for some of the compressors that are more my go-to. So I think that overall, it's a really good sounding compressor. I think it's got a lot of controls and features that make it super useful and allow you to get the sound that you want. It's very smooth. I could see this being great on vocals. I could see it being great on bass guitar and things that you want to smooth out. I think it sounds really, really good. So, $39. Waves has a lot of plugins on sale right now. It's definitely worth $39. Totally worth it. Is it a necessity? Probably not, but for $40, cost of a couple large pizzas, you can have a really, really sick plugin. So I've been Matt. This is Capsule to Cone. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.